Hello fellow voyagers and adventurers, I'm David Palmer, and I was very excited to learn more and dive deeper into the Lewis and Clark expedition. This expedition was really intriguing to me. I had heard their names throughout elementary school and growing up in the history books, and I was very excited to be able to dive deeper into their journey. So it all, for me, feels like they are the core of discovery. It all started with Thomas Jefferson and the Louisiana Purchase back in 1803. In 1803, Thomas Jefferson negotiated with France and paid $15 million of their time dollars. I don't know what that would be in today's dollars, but they paid that much for the Louisiana Territory. And Thomas Jefferson chose Meriwether Lewis who was an army captain, to be the head of the Corps of Discovery. The Corps of Discovery was an opportunity for them to adventure westward and voyage into that new territory and discover what it holds. Meriwether Lewis chose his former companion or another army official, William Clark, to be his companion or co-captain on this journey, and them and 30 others began their voyage out of St. Charles, Missouri, westward to the Pacific Ocean. Now, Thomas Jefferson had chosen them for a reason, because they had all had, or Meriwether Lewis and Clark also had really good skills and showed a lot of potential leadership, but they were given 4 important things to do. They needed to chart their trek westward and take very detailed notes. They also had to make good diplomatic relations with anything or with anyone that they met along the way, and they also had to make sure that they were keeping track of what they found there, all the flora, fauna, and animals that they came across, so that they would understand what that Louisiana territory held. So the lasting historical impact that this trek had on the United States and others began with the introduction or discovery to the West, diplomatic relations with the Native American tribes and peoples, securing the sovereignty of the United States on the western border, and also making it possible to expand westward, and then also mapping a passage to the Pacific Ocean. So, introduction to discovery of the West, Lewis and Clark began their journey and mostly traveled by boat on waterway. They started in the Missouri River and went northward and westward and went up that way toward the west. And as they went, many times they had to disembark from their boats and go by foot, but most of the time they were on the waters. Their journey west ended on the Pacific Ocean 2 years later, so it took them 2 years to go from Missouri to the Pacific Ocean, and then 6 months for them to go back from the Pacific back to St. Louis, Missouri. So you could tell that it obviously took longer for them to go one way than the other, which meant that they were going upstream most of the time on those rivers. But their journey made the West look attractive to many other people who would follow: pioneers, 49ers, others who wanted to make their living or make their life happen in the West. The Manifest Destiny movement was another one of those that, thanks to the Lewis and Clark expedition, the West can now be explored even more. The United States could push westward. And so, as this picture shows, it looks like a lot of people followed shortly after the Lewis and Clark expedition, pioneers being one of them, other settlers as well. Diplomacy with the Native Americans was probably the most crucial thing that occurred during this expedition. The expedition would not have been successful and would not have survived without the Native American tribes. Sacagawea being one of the main proponents of that. Sacagawea was a Native American woman who ended up guiding the Corps of Discovery and Lewis and Clark through the Rocky Mountains and other treacherous terrain, helping them know what plants could be eaten, and then also acting as an emissary between the Corps of Discovery and Native American tribes. At one point, the Native Americans were hostile, and Sacagawea helped negotiate with them and help speak peace. Another time, Sacagawea helped the Corps of Discovery obtain horses that were crucial for their trek across the Rocky Mountains. Securing sovereignty for the United States in the new region purchased by Thomas Jefferson was another important thing. So the United States was still very young, and they had just purchased a large mass of territory. However, there was still the Russians and also the British who had territories, and also Spanish territory westward, and then the French had territory northward. And so it was part of the journey to find the western border and also make diplomatic relations or find ways that the United States could expand their border. And then along the way, they also had to make very detailed maps and passages to that Pacific Ocean so that the United States or citizens could follow after. One important thing would be that William Clark was chosen because he was a skilled cartographer or map maker, and then Lewis was also a skilled biologist, or was very good at keeping specimens and documenting anything that he observed along the way. Detailed journals were also kept, which attributes to this course material, where it was very important for them to keep a journal and log everything that they accomplished and what they did along their path through from St. Louis, Missouri, all the way to the Pacific Ocean and back. So as you can see, this is a detailed map of what they did. And one fun fact about the Lewis and Clark expedition is that it was the first opportunity for a woman, and also a Native American woman, and a black man to have the right to vote. So York, Clark's slave, or valet at the time, and also Sacagawea were given the opportunity to vote with the party to choose where they were going to make their winter fort once they reached the Pacific Ocean at Fort Clatsop. Well, thank you so much for your time. I was very excited to dive a little bit deeper and show a little bit more of what the historical ramifications or historical impact of the Lewis and Clark expedition. Thank you so much.